One of the most important players on the roster heading into next season is Taurean York, but he's not the only crucial guy from his old recruiting class.
You are Locked On Aggies, your daily podcast on the Texas A&M Aggies. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into Locked On Aggies. I'm your host, Andrew Stefaniak. Thanks for making Locked On Aggies your first listen every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. So, ladies and gentlemen, today is a very important day for millions and millions of different reasons. One of which being it is Terry Bussey Day. So we will find out the verdict there on, I believe, let me see, what time is it? It's today or before noon. I forget. 9 a.m. Wednesday. 9 a.m. Wednesday. Today is Wednesday. It's the day, ladies and gentlemen. It is the day we all been waiting for. We will talk about that a little bit in segment 2. But the first thing I want to talk about are some players from the 2023 recruiting class that are going to be incredibly important to this football team next season and going forward. And I have ranked from, how important I think they're going to be and how useful they'll be to this team. So, as I said, when we got going here, the first player I got is Taurean York. I think the value he brings to this roster is just through the roof. Looking at what he did last year, it was so funny, going back to the 2023 recruiting class to take these down and kind of make my rankings of these players. You forget how Taurean York was such a not highly ranked guy. So not only is that a cool story, you love seeing the former 3-star guys make it, but it just reminds you how cool the story is of Taurean York and how cool it is that he's able to do this. But I mean, he's going to take over. With Coop gone, he's going to take over as kind of like the guy on this team. He's going to be like the dude on this defense. He's going to be the, person shouting stuff out. He's going to have a huge role on this defense. And, looking at it, it's being a player like York, having to trust him to make those calls is incredibly, incredibly important. So knowing that, you have a guy like him who is able to get that done and who's going to be able to, you don't think there's going to be a huge drop-off having him kind of take over this leading role in the linebacker room. That's a really good feeling. So, I think everybody feels pretty good about what York is going to do when it comes to this season, his sophomore season. He's going to have a good year, and I think he has this defense in a really good spot. So that's number one guy. He's the most important guy, no question there. I think you could argue he's one of the most important players on this entire defense. Just based on how important his role is on the defense. So, when it comes to importance to this defense as a whole, I think York is the number one guy. What I have at number 2, was going to surprise some folks, is Tease, the receiver, Micah Tease. I don't think I was talking enough about him. And, this was hard. Putting him 2 was hard. There are so many players. And, for example, DJ Hicks is, of course, on this list. I didn't want to just lob DJ Hicks at 2 because that's too easy. I wanted to make this difficult. So I put Micah Tease at 2. I think that, I talked about the receiver room, Friday, Thursday last week. Maybe it was Monday. Days are getting crazy. But talked about them last week, and I don't think I was as high on him as I should have been. And I think it's kind of reminded me, I'm obviously not concerned with the wide receivers, but what I am is in a spot where I'm sitting here saying to myself, okay, listen, these guys, these receivers, it's a room that there's not a ton of depth. I mean, you've got like 7 or 8 guys who I feel like can play, but then, you've got freshmen and young guys and all that. But so Tease is going to have to step up. You got the transfers coming in. Then you've got your, Noah Thomas, Moose, and Janae Walker. You've got all those guys. So there's 5 right there. But, here's the deal. Receivers get hurt often. It's a position that you're going to see players in and out of the lineup all the time. So, I think Tease taking a leap forward in his sophomore season is going to really help this offense as a whole, help this receiver room as a whole. I mean, if he can step up and be a guy, could he find a way to sneak into a starting role? And I always say, if a player that you don't expect sneaks into a starting role, I always kind of look at that as a massive positive, because that means that, the way you projected that player, they've taken a huge leap to where they are now. So it's like, we know who we think the starters are going to be at the receiver room. We all know that. And if he replaces one of those 3 guys, then you go, man, we already know what we have in this player A he replaced. And he replaced him. He must have had a huge offseason. So I think that's the way I kind of look at that. So Tease is my second player. York, of course, number 1. And I think the third player, this is an interesting one as well, is Jayvon Thomas. If y'all remember, it's funny. We kind of projected the starting defensive backfield and last year. And Jayvon Thomas was never, ever a name that was discussed as a potential starter. And then, the rumors came out. Well, I mean, he's been awesome. He's been incredible. You got to watch out for this kid. I'm telling you, he might start. You gotta watch out. That, and then the hype train started. And then let's be honest, he did not have the best freshman season. But when it comes to returning players in the secondary, Jayvon Thomas is one of the guys that I think could find a way to get on the field this year. So I'll be anxious to see that. I think that getting thrown into the fire as a freshman, y'all know, the everydayers know, I talk about it all the time. He is a really good football player that was put in a bad situation having to play as a true freshman. It's not an easy thing to do. So, and I think that, as fans, sometimes we kind of get to this spot where we go, well, I mean, Jayvon Thomas wasn't great, and we forget that, oh, yeah, maybe he can improve from year to year. And that is a thing. I mean, that's the whole point. Player development is going to be a thing under this new coaching staff. So hopefully Jayvon Thomas can take that step from here to here and be a guy that this coaching staff can rely on and can throw out there. Now, I know that a million players were brought in the secondary, which is great. We needed that. But what I'm saying is, just because there's a whole bunch of shiny new pieces in the secondary room, don't for a second think that the young guys from this 2023 class, some guys previously in the roster, Bryce Anderson, guys like that are going to be, fighting for starting spots, because they're not going to just give these spots up to these transfers easy. So, that is something to pay attention to. And then my next guy I have here he is. He's finally here, is DJ Hicks. You could have had DJ Hicks ahead of Taurean York. As much as y'all know, as high as I am on Taurean York and the importance he's going to have to this team and this defense as a whole, I think you could have replaced DJ Hicks for him. You know what I mean? You could have had DJ Hicks as that guy. You could have had Taurean York as that guy. They're kind of interchangeable there. I put him down to 4 because I think it was kind of a layup how important DJ Hicks is. So I kind of wanted to put some other guys, but you could have DJ Hicks 1, 2, 3 anywhere, and it would make sense. He talk about it all the time. He's a player who struggled to get on the field last year because Texas A&M's defensive line was one of the deepest rooms in all of college football. So it's not easy as a freshman to get on the field in the trenches when a room is that deep. I think a lot of folks, we're so quick now to kind of do this thing where it's like, well, but he didn't get on the field as a 5-star true freshman. And to me, it's like, back in the day that didn't happen a ton. Back in the day, you had to pay your dues and then you played sophomore, junior, senior year. And I think that's what, Hicks, obviously, if there was a spot for him, he'd have played. But there was so much depth at that room that it was hard for him to sneak onto the field. But I think he has a huge season. I think he takes a leap from point A to point B. I think DJ Hicks is going to be a player who really is a huge part of this team, and is a guy that you're going to see play a ton of snaps every single game. So I mean, it's going to be where were you when DJ Hicks took the massive year 1 to year 2 leap? That's going to be a thing we remember at the end of the season. So yeah, I'm really excited to see what he does next season. So the next guy I've got here is a quarterback, and we will talk about him coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But first, I want to tell you about our friends over at GameTime. I mean, GameTime is the best place to go get your tickets. I love GameTime. I use it personally. What I love about it, as a company, the goal is to save you money. Going to events, going to ball games, concerts, going to see a comedian. These are the things that just bring us joy in life. We all know it. Going to a Texas A&M football game, basketball game, baseball game, going to see the Rangers or the Astros, going to see the Cowboys or the Texans. This is what brings us all joy. And being able to go do those things at the best price possible makes an enjoyable life event even more enjoyable. And that is why I love GameTime. Compared to the competition, they want to save you money. Others don't. That's why I love GameTime. And I also love they have this, a feature in their app where you can see where your seat is through the app before you get there. And I love that feature because it helps you really know, okay, here's where I'm sitting. Maybe I don't want this seat because it's not the best, vantage point to the field. So I'm going to sit here. I love that feature. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with GameTime. Right now, all GameTime users get $100 off a big game ticket with code VEGAS100. Terms apply. Just download the GameTime app and use code VEGAS100, VEGAS100 for $100 off a big game ticket. Or if you're not going to the game, use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Download GameTime today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. So the next player I have here is, of course, Marcel Reed. And those of you everydayers here at Locked On Aggies know that I'm a big Connor Rueben guy. No, obviously y'all know that. But I think Marcel Reed has importance for many, many, many different reasons. One of those reasons is, I think that he is the future. What's unfortunate? And it's a good problem. This is a seriously good problem to have. So we talked a little bit about Wigman yesterday, and what do I have in the comments? I have everybody, yeah, I like Wigman, but I like Reed too, or I think it's Wigman or it's Henderson. Texas A&M has a ton of talented quarterbacks. I feel better about the quarterback room heading into next season than I did last year's room, and it's kind of because last year you had Max Johnson, who we felt good about. And then you had those two guys on roster, but we didn't know what you had in either Reed or Henderson. Now we know that both those guys can ball, and frankly, I'll take both of them over Max Johnson. I love Max Johnson. He is a great, best of luck to him at his next stop. No disrespect to Max Johnson. He was a great backup, and he's a great quarterback. No disrespect to him. But I think that the guy that, the better backup right now is Marcel Reed or Jalen Henderson, either of them. So I think the reason I have, Marcel Reed high on this list, even though I don't think he will start, is because I think he will push Connor Rueben. And that's a big deal. Once again, I always talk about how in the offseason, I love it when players have to look over their shoulder every practice, every snap of every event. You're always looking over your shoulder because you kind of saying to yourself, oh man, this guy's catching up to me. This guy's playing well. He's playing hard. I don't know. I got to be careful here. And that's a big deal. So, knowing that Connor Rueben can't just, walk into this and not worry about nothing, I think helps this football team a ton. So that's why I have Marcel Reed number 5. Next guy I got here is Chase Bisontis. Entered the portal, came back, and he's now a player. What are they going to use him? Are they? We've heard rumors they're going to pull him inside. Is he going to stay outside? I think he's better used inside. And we'll talk about the offensive line depth and all that heading in. That'll be a next week conversation. I'm going on the trip next week, so we're gonna have a lot of big picture conversations. But Bisontis had. We forget he was like a freshman All-American, and it's funny because he did get burned a lot. Let's be honest, he did. He didn't have numbers wise, PFF grade wise. He got beat some, but I can't sit here and discuss playing offensive tackle as a true freshman in the SEC is harder than filing taxes. And that is the hardest thing in the world I have learned recently. I like to take every opportunity that I can to talk about how difficult taxes is, how difficult doing taxes are. But, playing tackle in the SEC is impossible as a freshman. And that's what Chase Bisontis had to do. So now he's going to either move inside or stay outside. But regardless of what he does, he's going to have that experience. He's going to be bigger, faster, stronger in the weight room. All of this is in his favor. So I think that Bisontis is going to have a really, really good season. I'm anxious to see what he does this year. I think you're going to see him really put some stuff together, and I think he's going to have a great season. So the next guy I have after Chase Bisontis is Ruben Owens. We all know who Ruben Owens is. You all know how excited I was about him last year. And let's be honest, he didn't have the season I anticipated. Running back's position, unlike offensive, like we said, D-line for Hicks or O-line for Bisontis, that it is easier to play as a true freshman. You can play it because to me, it's such a natural, okay, I see the hole, I got to cut, I got to cut back here. It's all natural. It's all vision. All these SEC running backs have the athleticism, the speed, and the strength. Do they have the vision? That's what separates people. And I think that Ruben Owens showed flashes of being a dominant player in this league, but I think that we need to see a big freshman to sophomore leap. The other problem for Ruben Owens is just flat out the players, in that room. You got the E.J. Smith from Stanford. You still got Moss, you got Daniels. It's a room full of really good football players. So, snaps are going to be not so easy to find for some of these players. So that's why I have Ruben Owens where I have him. But yes, I do think he has a role. And then my last guy here, and we'll talk a little bit about Terry Bussey, is Jaden Platt. I love Platt. I think he's going to be a good player. I think the reason I have him so low here is just because I don't know if this is the year for him. You still got Donovan Green. You bring in the transfers. I don't think this is the year for Platt, but I think that he will have his day as the starting tight end. But then again, the reason I have him here is injuries can happen. Players can get banged up. You can see him work his way onto the field. And I think he's a good player. I loved watching him play in the short time we got to see him last year. So let me know y'all's thoughts on those rankings and kind of rank those things yourself. Are there any players still on the roster from the 2023 class that you think should be ranked higher? Let me know those things. So it is Terry Bussey Day. We're not going to talk long about it because, of course, regardless of the outcome, we will discuss it, tomorrow on tomorrow morning's episode of Locked On Aggies. I feel confident. I do. I feel confident, but you know how these things are. You know that LSU is in his ear right now, hard in his ear right now, talking to him, saying, listen, come on, and so is Coach Elko and the staff. So and this is going to go down to when he makes his decision at 9 a.m. That is what this is going to go down to. So, like I said, it's 6:22 right now. So he's doing this in about 2.5 hours. He's doing this in about 2.5 hours. And I'm sure that he's on the phone right now with Coach Elko and, Brian Kelly's staff, talking this out. So, this is going to be a really interesting how this plays out. If Coach Elko can hold on here I mean, as y'all know, I've talked about this. I mean, we're talking about a first-round pick in the NFL draft, in my opinion. This is a huge, huge addition to somebody's football team that can do everything and anything. So this is a huge one, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, really, this is as important as it seems. So I can't wait to see what happens here. And of course, once again, that's going to be pretty much all we talk about on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Aggies. I can't wait to either celebrate or cry. So we will see the emotions coming up here in the next few hours. We're going to talk a little bit about, I have one quick thing to talk about for the baseball team and a little bit to talk about for the basketball team. We'll do that coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But first, I want to tell you about our friends over at FanDuel. Happy Super Bowl to all who celebrate from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. If you're like me, Super Bowl Sunday is all about scoring the best seat on the couch, grabbing your favorite football snacks, and placing some super bets. FanDuel has so many ways for you to end the season with a dub or two or three. Not only can you bet on who will win Super Bowl 58, but FanDuel has bets for which player is going to score more touchdowns, how many points are going to be scored, and so much more. As I said, ladies and gentlemen, I think I'm rolling with the 49ers, but I've bet against the Chiefs all for the last 2 weeks and gotten, or 3 weeks, Pro Bowls week, and gotten burned time and time again. So, I think the smart bet maybe is the Chiefs because they burned me for weeks, but I think I'm rolling with the Niners. I'm rolling with it. New customers join today and you'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. So, the basketball team is going to head to Missouri this evening. Yeah, is it Wednesday? I'm telling you, I've been on Terry Bussey watch to where it's like I've lost control of everything that matters. Yes, that game's coming up this evening. Texas A&M is currently a 4.5-point favorite in this game with a 66.7% chance to win, according to the matchup predictor metrics from ESPN. Looking at Missouri, they are so I watched Vandy play last night for the first time, and they are one of the worst basketball teams I've ever seen in my life. And they beat Missouri, and I believe didn't they beat? Yeah, they beat Missouri. Now they were at home for that one, and they are the two worst teams in the SEC. But the point is, this is a game. This is a must-win game. If you want to make the NCAA tournament, if you want to be playing relevant basketball in the month of March, you cannot lose this basketball game to one of the worst teams in the league. Have to win it. And if you do win this game, you think about it, you are back over 500 in SEC play. Looking at this Missouri team, they have some guards who can shoot. They have some guards who can score. Their leading scorers, East is 16 points a game. Bates, the guard, is 14 a game. Carter, who's listed as a forward, but he's not a very big guy, 12 a game. And then Honor, 10 points a game. So, they have some guys who can score. And then they've also got Vanover, the 7'5" dude who played it, or 7'4", where they list him at 7'5" guy. He's fun to watch. He's real tall, son of a gun. But this is a game that you cannot lose if you are, if you're Texas A&M. Now, of course, you did beat Missouri at home, but only by 6 points. You've got to find a way to, blow the doors off this team on the road. So this is a must win. You got to assume this environment's not going to have anything to it, just because, there's no way Missouri still bought in to basketball with the way this has gone. So you have to assume not much. The road environment won't, I don't think, play a huge role in this basketball game, which is a good thing because playing on the road is never a fun thing. It's much easier when, there's not a lot going on. And then on Saturday, you host Mississippi State. It's a week where you got to go 2-0. Mississippi State's a good basketball team. They play good defense. That's going to be an ugly, ugly game when those two teams play. But you have got to win both of these ball games this week. If you can win both of them, and then, like I said, if you win both of these games, take care of business in the ones you're supposed to, and maybe when one you're not, I think this team will make the NCAA tournament. But I mean, we're getting down to the final stretch here, and you got to start stacking some wins together. Now, baseball, I want to talk just for 1 minute before we call it a day here. I love this schedule, and we're going to get, y'all know I love baseball. We're going to get more deep into baseball soon. We'll do that. That'll be a next week thing with opening day coming up. But what I love looking at the schedule is that you play games against Arizona State, USC at Globe Life, and then one little tournament. And then you play Texas all before SEC play starts. Of course, Texas is in the SEC, but not yet when it comes to baseball. I love that you're playing. That not only helps with the stat is it's RPI, right? RPI is the college baseball. I get it mixed up because of the net rankings in baseball. Yes. Oh no, that says RBI. I want to make sure I got this stat right, but that's the stat that like judges. Yes, it's RPI. That's the stat that judges, strength of schedule and ranks, and they look at it when it comes to national seed, you're going to host regional, all that stuff. So RPI. So playing games against these kind of teams helps with that. And then listen, you start SEC play at Florida. You got, Caglione, college baseball, Shohei Ohtani. This is not going to be an easy, it's the SEC. I always say the SEC, baseball and the SEC is the best sport in any conference in college sports. And I think you could really have that debate of how good the SEC is at baseball. So heading to Florida to open things up is going to be a really fun, potential SEC champion showdown. Listen, folks have Texas A&M as a team who can go to Omaha. So, that'll be a fun matchup between two of the best teams in the SEC and two teams who could go to Omaha. So, baseball season's almost here, and we will further break down this team mid to late next week. But that is going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Aggies. Like I said, tomorrow we will break down Terry Bussey, whichever way it goes. If he signs with Texas A&M, if he signs with LSU, we will talk about that on tomorrow's episode, either in excitement or pain. But that is going to do it. Like I said, everybody have a great rest of your Wednesday, and we will see you tomorrow.